Thundarr. I'm E-Lightning, and this is Sports Storm. Today we'll be doing our updated Super Bowl predictions. Let's get started with your NFC seeding.
At the 1 seed, I have the reigning NFC champions, the Carolina Panthers. Now, not much has changed for them last season. Other than Josh Norman's leaving, that's really their only weakness. But I do think their offense will get better as players like Devin Funchess are going to progress and Kelvin Benjamin comes back. Number 2, I have the Green Bay Packers. Now, this team is normally a contender and is always in the playoff picture. They get Jordy Nelson back from injury last season. Their defense is somewhat iffy, but I do think they will be in another elite level. And number 3, I have the Arizona Cardinals. Now, they're kind of aging now with Carson Palmer and Larry Fitzgerald starting to see father time. As Larry Fitzgerald did have a great season, but I do think he will take a step back. I have them still winning their division, but at the 3 seed. At number 4, I have the Dallas Cowboys winning the NFC East. With the addition of Ezekiel Elliott, I think this offense will return back to its elite level it had a few years ago with DeMarco Murray, and I think this team will be back in the playoff picture once again. My first wildcard team, number 5, I have the Seattle Seahawks, losing the division to the Arizona Cardinals. I do think this team could win the division, but I think the Cardinals are just a tad bit better at this moment. And at number 6, I have the Minnesota Vikings. They could also win their division over the Packers, but I think Teddy Bridgewater still needs to develop a bit more. And if he does break out, I do think Minnesota could enter itself even a bye in the postseason.
All right, so my number 1 seed is like same as yours, the Carolina Panthers, reigning NFC champions. Nothing really changed except for the loss of Josh Norman. But honestly, I think they can easily win their division. Their division is still weak, other than the Falcons, who might give them a little bit of trouble. And I feel that should get them a good enough record to be 1 seed. Number 2, I have the Arizona Cardinals. Now they may be aging, but I still feel like they can barely get a bye here. But you could easily have another team come up and jump them for the 2 seed. Number 3, I have Minnesota Vikings. Now I'm going to predict them to beat the Packers. I feel like the Packers are just not as good as they used to be. Now, I did not have Jordy Nelson last year, but I still feel the Vikings have improved while the Packers have just stayed level. Then at number 4, I have the New York Giants winning. I feel like the additions on defense are too much, and at this time, I know the Cowboys' offense will be good, but that defense is very suspect. Number 5, I have Seattle on the first wild card. I think they'll narrowly miss the division, but I feel like they have a very good team, solid defense, and once again, they're a contender. Number 6, I have the Green Bay Packers. Now, they'll get in the playoffs as they always do. However, not at a high seed, only because I feel like Seattle can finish with a better record. What are your first-round matchups and winners?
In the NFC, my first-round matchup would be the Minnesota Vikings at the 3-seeded Arizona Cardinals, and I do think the Cardinals will win this matchup. The Vikings still can't get past the wild card to another NFC West opponent in the Arizona Cardinals. I think the Cardinals just simply have too much talent and playoff experience. And my other NFC first-round matchup between the Seahawks and the Cowboys, I don't think there's much of a question in this. You could argue the Cowboys here, but I do think the Seahawks ultimately are more talented. Although it is a road game, I think Seahawks offense will just destroy Cowboys' subpar defense.
My first-round matchup is Minnesota versus Green Bay being on the road, and I feel like that is the key factor. I feel like Minnesota will not lose again. They're much better, and I feel like the home field advantage and the excellent defense will help them win the game. Minnesota triumphs. Then I have New York versus Seattle. I know Seattle's on the road, but same thing for the Cowboys. Seattle's defense is going to eviscerate Eli Manning and that offense. And I don't care how good Odell is. They match up at corner, and I just feel like the Seattle defense is way too good to lose that game. What is your divisional round matchups and winners?
My first divisional round matchup in the NFC is a rematch of last year, the Seahawks at the Panthers. Now, I do think the Seahawks are going to be very good this season, but I don't think they're going to be able to get past the top-seeded Panthers. Both Panthers offense and Seahawks defense will be another great matchup to watch, but I think Panthers defense will still be able to shut down Russell Wilson and company in Seattle. And my other divisional matchup is the Cardinals at the Green Bay Packers, a rematch of last year. I do think the Packers are going to get by the Cardinals last season. The Packers got into overtime on Jared Aberdeen's Hail Mary catch last year, but I think since they get Jordy Nelson back, I do think they will be able to outlast the Cardinals in another close game.
All right, my divisional matchups include the Carolina versus Seattle. Now, I know Seattle's on the road, and it's a rematch of last year, but I have, surprising to many people, Seattle winning this. I feel like the loss of Josh Norman will hurt them a lot. Now, the gripe with Seattle has always been the receiving core hasn't been good enough. The receiving core hasn't been good enough. And now I feel like Doug Baldwin has really emerged, and I feel like him and Jermaine Kearse can really lead them against a weakened secondary to a victory here. Now, I know it's a bold prediction, but Russell Wilson has proven that he can play in the big games. Then I have Vikings versus Cardinals. Now I have the Cardinals winning this one. Now the Vikings may be good in our young team, but I feel like the playoff experience of the Cardinals is just way too much, and the fact that they have home field, it will overpower these young Vikings. What is your conference championship and Super Bowl advancer?
My conference championship is the Green Bay Packers at the number 1 seeded Carolina Panthers. Now I have the Carolina Panthers winning this matchup. I do think it's going to be another close game, but I think the Panthers' defense is still going to be too much for Aaron Rodgers, and I think mostly Carolina's offense is going to light up the weak Green Bay defense, especially with their tall receivers and Kelvin Benjamin and Devin Funchess, and the read option ability of Cam Newton. Carolina is advancing to the Super Bowl.
I have Seattle versus Arizona, and I'm going to make a bold prediction. I'm going to go with Seattle to win the game. Now, Seattle has proven that they can go into Arizona and win games. And I feel like that's exactly what they do. Russell Wilson is a very good quarterback, does not get phased on the road, and he has a good receiving core now. And I feel like the running game, they have an all-around good offense now to go with still that great defense. And I feel like in a matchup between Richard Sherman and Larry Fitzgerald, at this point, I would take Richard Sherman. And that's why I have Seattle going on to the Super Bowl. All right, let's go on the other side of the bracket. What is your AFC seeding?
At the 1 seed in the first bye of the AFC, I have the New England Patriots and Martellus Bennett. They do lose Chandler Jones to the Arizona Cardinals, but I don't think that'll play into a factor too much as Martellus Bennett adds another weapon to their offense. I think this team will be the 1 seed. My other bye team is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, they still have a subpar, iffy defense. I do think it'll get a bit better, but not much. But their offense is still by far the best in the NFL currently. You could argue the Panthers, but in terms of star power, Le'Veon Bell, Ben Roethlisberger, and Antonio Brown, you can't do better than that. They get the 2nd seed. Number 3, I have kind of a surprise team, the Oakland Raiders. This team has a good group of veterans, a good group of young players led by Derek Carr at quarterback and Khalil Mack on the defensive end. I do think this defense is much improved, and I think they will be able to get past the contenders in the AFC West. At number 4, I have the Houston Texans. Now, you might say the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Indianapolis Colts, but I think the Houston Texans have had some very nice additions, including Brock Osweiler and Lamar Miller. Their defense is still very good, and I think this team will win the AFC South. My first wildcard team, the Denver Broncos, take a step back from last year after losing Osweiler and Manning. I do think Mark Sanchez or Paxton Lynch will be able to win them games. I don't think they're going to be able to get past the Raiders, though. My other wild card team is another team from the AFC West, the Kansas City Chiefs. Consistently have been a playoff team the last few years. Good group of veterans on the defense. Alex Smith-led offense. Still doesn't have enough firepower to get a bye.
All right, my number 1 seed is the New England Patriots. There's nowhere else to go. They're the best team by far. They can beat up on a weak division and overall weak AFC, in my opinion, and that should be easy for New England. All right, number 2, I have the Steelers. As you said, the best offense in the entire league, and I think they can continue that with possibly the best running back, possibly the best receiver, and like the 3rd best quarterback. Then at number 3, I have the Broncos. Now, I honestly could see Oakland or KC winning this, but I have the Broncos only on the strength of that really great defense, and the offensive weapons around whoever they have starting is going to be good enough to get them the championship crown. And at number 4, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars. I have them winning that division only because I feel like they're more talented than Texans, and they have a more complete offense, and that should lead them. And at number 5, my first wild card will be Oakland. Now, Oakland, I think they will barely miss out on the divisional crown, but they will not miss the playoffs again this year. They should be able to get in behind Derek Carr and Amari Cooper and that great defense led by Khalil Mack. Number 6, I have the Texans, supremely talented, and they still have a good defense and a decent offense that's unproven, and I feel like that should get them the wild card. What is your first round and winners and matchups?
My first matchup of the first round in the AFC, I have the Kansas City Chiefs at the Oakland Raiders, an AFC West divisional matchup, but I do think the Raiders are going to come out on top. Now, the Chiefs do have more postseason experience, but I do think the Raiders simply are more talented than the Chiefs with their young core in Khalil Mack and Derek Carr. And my other first round matchup is the Broncos at the Houston Texans. Both teams were in the playoffs last year. The Texans improved, but the Broncos got worse. But still, the Broncos won the Super Bowl last year. They only lost their quarterback, and I do think they're going to be able to get past the AFC South champions.
I have Broncos versus Texans, as you said, and Broncos I feel like will win for the exact same reasons you listed. Obviously, they only lost their quarterback. They still have one of the best supporting casts around him and one of the best defenses. Then I have the Jacksonville Jaguars versus Oakland, and the home field advantage should get the Jacksonville Jaguars this win. However, you could argue for Oakland, and I think Oakland very well could win the game. However, I'm predicting a home field victory for the Jaguars. What is your divisional round matchups and winners?
My first divisional round matchup is between the Broncos and the Patriots. I do think the Patriots win this. This is a rematch of last year where the Broncos won in the AFC Championship. But the one thing is, the Patriots got better, the Broncos got a tad bit worse, and that game was relatively close, and the Patriots do get back some of their key receivers. I think Patriots advance to the AFC Championship. And my other divisional matchup is between the Raiders and the Steelers. This is in Pittsburgh, but I do think the Raiders are going to be able to get past Pittsburgh. Last year in the regular season, they played each other and went to a very close game. Raiders still, I believe, came out on top, and I think they will again as their team is much improved.
All right, my divisional round is New England versus Jacksonville. I think this should be a no question. New England is just way too experienced and good to lose to Jacksonville, especially at home. Then I have the Steelers versus the Broncos rematch of last year, except this year the Steelers are less injured. They come back against a quarterbackless Broncos, and this should be a very nice win for the Steelers, especially even with home field. All right, what is your conference champion?
My conference championship is between the New England Patriots and the Oakland Raiders. Now, I think the Patriots are going to win this game. Even though I have the Raiders going this far, I think their journey falls flat here in Foxborough. I think Patriots are simply more talented and have way more playoff experience than Oakland does. Tom Brady gets to his, whatever Super Bowl, a lot of them.
My conference championship is Patriots versus Steelers, and I'm going to have to go with the Steelers. Now, I feel like this could be a very close matchup over the Steelers. I think like their offense can overcome a weakened Patriots defense, and I feel like the offenses will clash heavily, but the offense is the running back is what wins the Steelers this one. What is your Super Bowl matchup and winner?
My Super Bowl matchup is the 2-1 seeds, the Patriots and the Panthers. Now, I know this is kind of lame, but I do have the Patriots winning another Super Bowl. I think this team is just extremely talented. It's going to be a close game, but the Panthers fall short in their second Super Bowl appearances in 2 years.
I have the Steelers versus the Seattle Seahawks, and I feel like the defense of Seattle has always been there, and I feel like it's good enough to win them the game. Then the offense should keep them in it, and the defense will win it. Defense wins championships, as we've seen the past couple years, and I feel like Seattle, the defense is better, and the offense is adequate enough to win. That is it for us today at Sports Storm. Please like,
comment,
subscribe.
Peace.